Batteries?
We got one. Okay. Wow. Sorry about that. I will now call to order the Chesterfield Township Planning Commission at 7:01 on March 18th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody would please silence their phones, we appreciate it. I'm now going to call roll. Rick LaBelle.
Here.
Kathy Bosberg. Here. Richard Brokart.
Here.
Brian Carr.
Here.
Ralph Jaworski.
Here.
James Klinowski.
Here.
Eric Heider.
Here.
And Carl Leonard here. Mark Renault is not here and he's excused. I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Support.
Motion made by Carl Leonard, supported by Rick LaBelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted. Motion made by Carl Leonard, supported by Kathy Bosberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We got public comments for anybody in the audience that would like to say something, ask questions, whatever it might be. No? All right, we'll bring it back up. There's no public hearings tonight. And Mr. LaBelle will do the reviews for the regular agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item A is Forest View Estates, Site Plan 2025-01. This is the final site review for site condominium. It's zoned R1B. It's 31.2 acres, north of 24 Mile Road, west of Baker Road. The parcel ID is 15-09-11-300-002. The address is 33265 24 Mile Road.
All right, thank you, Mr. LaBelle. Stephanie, would you please go through the Giffords-Webster review?
Great, thank you. So in your packets, there is a memo dated March 13th. This is the final site condo review for Forest View Estates. Starting on page 2, there's a little history of the site. The Planning Commission saw this proposal back in January of 2023. And during that time, the Planning Commission discussed the style and size of homes, screening, and confirmed that the landscaping plan would be reviewed again during the final review, which is occurring tonight. So in general, the applicant's proposing to construct single-family site condominium featuring 54 single-family site condominiums. There are 2 plans submitted with differing numbers of units, and it appears that the project is proposed to be completed in phases, with 31 homes at the south end of the site being constructed first, and additional homes in the northeast corner being constructed at a future time. That's something that the Planning Commission may want to discuss with the applicant, is the phasing, and confirm that my conjecture here was correct. Page 3 goes through the district standards. Everything is compliant. There is one administrative item for them to clean up, showing the side setback on one of their typical lot unit layouts, but everything else is compliant. On page 4, we get into the site standards for site condominium subdivisions. Everything's compliant here. They are proposing 3 new public right-of-ways. One that allows access onto 24 Mile Road, another that extends to the west of the site that connects to an existing neighborhood street, and then all the right-of-ways are proposed, then the third road is an internal road. All the right-of-ways are going to be 60 feet wide, and so that's compliant. blocks are all set, sidewalks are set. They've got a 5-foot wide pathway proposed along 24 Mile Road and within the development on the internal roads. They do not have any utility easements noted on the plans, and they've said that they will include those with the engineering plans, and that township standards will be met with regards to those. I do want to just note there are 2 detention ponds proposed at the south end of the site, and the north end of the site is not going to be developed because it's an existing wetland. However, the site does not fall within a flood plain, but it does have hydric soils throughout the site. On page 5, we continue the development procedures. Again, everything is compliant. The landscape, they have a 20-foot landscape buffer between 24 Mile Road and the adjacent lots in the detention pond. So just a note there that is being proposed. On page 6, there are a couple more administrative items for the applicant to clean up. I'll note that there is no lighting proposed for the project. In terms of landscaping, which is kind of middle of page 6, they have proposed 29 trees, 4 different species, to screen 24 Mile Road. The Planning Commission has the discretion to make a recommendation as to whether or not that's sufficient, and that will ultimately be reviewed and either approved or changes requested by the Township Board. They have proposed an irrigation system. And moving on to page 7, there's just the administrative item that they'll need to provide some information when they go to seek their building permit, but that can be reviewed in the office. That's really all I have. If you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you. Is the applicant here tonight? Do you have anything you'd like to bring up to us, or?
The summary that Ms. Osborne just gave was very good and covered.
You turn the microphone on, please? The little button in the middle of the...
There you go. Can you hear me? I don't need to go back through a summary of the site. She did a great job of summarizing the project and what it is. We're really here to answer questions. The one comment that I will respond to is phasing, and exactly what you said is our plan.
Okay, thank you. Bring it back to the board. Ms. Fosberg, you have any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Hyder?
I have a couple of questions.
Sir, would you come back to the... Thank you.
Explain a little more about the phasing, about your phasing between phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
2 total phases.
Okay,
And basically it splits the site, not half and half. It's 54 units. As you mentioned, 31 in the first phase. And it's basically going to be the west side of the site, if you will. So it's what connects into the existing subdivision to our west is what we'll do first, bring that in, and then do the second, almost half, if you will, to the east.
so you'll complete phase 1 completed before you start the other phase of the houses, or are you going to kind of intermix a couple houses between the 2 phases?
Yeah,
Depending on
ideally,
the
development for sure
customer.
will be done, in phase 1 before we start phase 2. But house building wise, no, the plan would be to start development of the second phase when we're, based on how quickly we're selling, try to project so that it's that perfect ideal where we can move right into it, right?
Now, are you going to control all the lots as you're the builder and not sell off a lot here and there, or do you have any plans on that?
Our plan right now is to build the entire site.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski?
No questions from me.
Thank you. Mr. Klonowski?
Nothing from me.
Thank you. I'll come back to you, Ms. LaBelle. Mr. Carr?
No, overall, I thought this, I thought the site plan, was tastefully done. And I understand your phasing, so I think I'm pretty good with that. My question, the only question I have outside of the other ones that have already been answered is with the screening along the front. So, it's, especially on 24-mile road, you know, it's 50 miles an hour. It's pretty typical. Pretty much all those subs have a berm, and then landscaping on top of the berm. And I didn't see a berm in yours. Is there going to be a berm there, or is everything just level? Yeah, because, you know, you're tying into Heatherwood Estates, and I lived there for 12 years when it first opened. I was one of the first homes in there. So I'm very familiar with this whole area, and, you know, they got a really nice berm in the front, landscaping, and you're tying basically into that berm, more or less. And so, but do you also berm it because of all the traffic and the noise? You know, typically it's nice to screen it, berm it, you know, landscape on top of it. For both noise and for aesthetics.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't have the full engineering with me to be able to 100% answer your question, so I'm kind of going from memory a little. We typically do a berm along any kind of major right-of-way like that. In this plan, and I'm going from memory, but in the two ponds, I do remember we have spillways that go out to the 24-mile right-of-way, and I believe there is a small, and I think it's probably only about 2 foot, because those spillways had to be kind of cut through the berm in that landscaping area.
So you're saying there's no berm?
I'm saying I believe there is a small berm through there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would, you know, recommend a berm personally, because I do think it does help for those reasons. Typically, we like to see a berm along, especially, you know, that road that's A, busy, and A, you know, B, fast, right? So
Sure.
that's one of my comments. The other comment that I had wasn't probably something that you could answer, but it's more like for, I guess, well, Jonathan was here, I would ask him. On the west side of your property, when it abuts up to, you know, Heatherwood Estates, if you will, that corner, that southeast corner, used to be the construction access drive for the sub. And you can still see, if you look on Google Earth, it's like, you'll see like an old stone. And so you're gonna put your sidewalk up to your property line, and then the sidewalk for Heatherwood only went up to that road, so there's like a 25-foot gap of no sidewalk. So my question was more for the township on that one, because obviously he can't put it in, it's not on his property, but it's just a gap, you know, it just seems kind of odd, especially as we build out that whole north side of 24, because we approved that sub to the west of Heatherwoods, they put the sidewalk in, so now you can almost go the whole way, but then you got like a 25-foot gap, so I just thought it good for the notes for the meeting, just because I think it's something the township needs to look at, because we're getting those patches where I'm pretty sure it was probably supposed to be the developer from Heatherwoods that was supposed to fill that in once their construction phases were done, and they didn't. So it's just a thought, but no, I mean, otherwise I thought your plan was tastefully done, and I do think we should, if we do approve it, I think we should consider a berm of some type along 24-mile road. But outside of that, I understood the phasing, and it seems reasonable, so I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions.
Mr. LaBelle?
Ms. Osborne, is there a berm required in our ordinance?
A berm is not required. It is not.
Because I am looking at the drawing on page, well, it calls it the dimension drawings, and I'm looking at the elevations, and we're looking at, in the area that you're talking about, Mr. Carr, 595, 592, so there really isn't anything drawn out on the, you know, on their drawing that they presented to us this evening. If the applicant would come up again, please. This is kind of, procedurally, this is kind of the end of our discussion here this evening. Would you commit to a berm?
Honestly, I'm somewhat, I'm trying to be cautious, right? Because this whole thing has been engineered, fully approved by everyone at this point. So for me to say that would be wouldn't be intelligent for me, right? I don't want to make a commitment that we can't follow through with because it would hurt something else.
Right.
So that's the honest truth. I mean, it's obviously has been approved by not only township engineer, the road commission, drain commission, Eagle, everyone has been through this, so I truly can't just say we can do that. I don't have a problem with berms generally. I mean, the site we just developed, Woodland, right, just to the west of this site by half a mile, we have a 4-foot berm. And usually that is our plan unless there's a reason that we couldn't do it.
I misunderstood. You do have a berm on that? That was gonna be my next question.
100% we do. Yeah, you
do have a
could
berm
see
there.
it right now, yes.
Okay. Because I'm prepared to make a motion, and I just want to know how to make the motion.
Well, I just want to be, if it was just, hey, we put this in and it doesn't affect anything, I would say, yeah, no big deal. But I don't want to do that and not be able to follow through with it.
Okay.
So I'm saying truly, we usually do it unless there's a reason not to. And in this case, knowing there were some very special considerations with these ponds, we're pumping these ponds. So we had to get special permission from the road commission to do this. They have 2 exits from each pond into the ditch. So I'm just trying to be really cautious that I don't just say something that's sloppy.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
That's the only question I have, Mr. Leonard.
All right, thank you. And the chair doesn't have any questions, so at this time, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion this evening. I move that the Planning Commission give the final approval on the subdivision. The parcel ID is 15-09-11-300-02. Subject to staff administration review and confirmation that all the legalities or required signatures have been obtained. And further, I move that the Planning Commission approve the site plan dated 2025-01, or it's assigned 2025-01, for Forest View Estates site plan.
And I'll,
I'm not done
sorry.
yet. And as part of my review, I would also like to recognize in my motion the Giffords-Webster's review to update typical unit layout to show side setback on the right side of the lot, identify the landscape easement and its depiction to the homeowners association on the west common areas, include the spacing of trees and bushes on the landscape plan. Upon submitting for a building permit, a cost breakdown of each item of the landscape plan, provide tree species approved by the township's ordinances. What I am proposing, or what I am making a motion to approve, are the plans that are dated 1/27/25. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
I support that. So we have a motion by Rick LaBelle to approve Forest View Estates, supported by Carl Leonard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I don't believe there's any reports or presentations or discussions tonight. Any of the planning commissioners have any comments, questions? Start with Kathy Bosberg.
Thank you. Nothing directly related to Planning Commission, but the astronauts have safely arrived, landed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Hyder.
Nothing really. I guess one comment, has there been any complaints about lighting for Sugarbush Tavern? On those lights on the building? For the parking lot, it seems excessive.
Do you want me to answer that, or you want to answer it?
No.
I think what has to happen is you have to go to the office and you have to
Okay,
formally
it just seems.
present a complaint. and
Yeah,
then-
it seems
and then a
excessive
zoning
lighting
officer will
for
take
the
care of it.
parking lot, so I wasn't sure if
Agreed.
it came here when they redid the, it just seems like, you know, you go back and like, wow. So I'm not griping, but it seems it's excessive for, especially for lighting. I don't know if any but.
Might
that's it.
not be any complaints, because there's not a lot of houses around there. There's a
Yeah.
couple on 21 and then
Well, sure,
back there, so, you know, it's,
but it seems when they first put it up, it's like, whoa. that seems a
I'm
little-
surprised that, you know, because there's a lot of activity outside, that
Yeah.
that wouldn't cause some issues, but they all probably go up there and nobody complains, so,
I'm not complaining, but it's, yeah.
or brings it up.
That's it.
Thank
Good.
you. Mr. Jaworski.
I thought they were excessive too, but I thought that's because they cleared out that corner lot. So we
Yeah,
just
maybe
notice
it's-
it more.
Or maybe it's just the angle of the head,
Right,
maybe, that's
right.
going to the street, so, but, okay. No
All
other
set?
comments?
No, I just want to give credit to Brian Carr for catching that sidewalk. Good catch. I mean, everyone, when we did our, you know, for the township development, I mean, it was overwhelmingly make the township more walkable, so, good catch.
Yeah, no, but, yeah, I mean, mostly just because you live in that area, I mean, you go like 50, 60 down that road. You need some sidewalks, otherwise you're riding into the street.
Thank you. Mr. Klinowski.
Nothing from me.
Mr. LaBelle.
Nothing for me tonight, thank you.
Mr. Card?
Nope, nothing.
Nothing
Mr. Burkhardt? And I don't think I have anything to add myself. So with that, if there's nothing else, I will make a motion to adjourn at 7:23.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Leonard, supported by Mr. LaBelle. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.